Okay, and also let me share my screen because today we'll be continuing with CSS. Yes, we'll be continuing with CSS. Where is it? So let me share my screen. So the assignment I gave yesterday, please, some people still didn't attempt it. Please, I want to know what is the problem. So please, I want us to attempt those things. So they're not just there to just fill in the space. They are there to make sure that everything we learn, we are practicing them. Because it's not about you just learning. I mentioned this the first day. It's not about learning. So anything you learn but you don't practice, you won't really understand it better. But you will think you know it, but until you probably ask to test yourself, then you will see that, oh, I don't even know this very well. So please, the test, the assignments that I'm giving, please let's try to attempt them. So that when we have problems with them, we'll be able to raise our questions on them. And the ones we don't understand also, we'll be able to ask questions and we'll get a response to make us know it better. So please, let's try to work on this. Maybe call you. Don't call me again. Yeah, that. Alright, so I've shared my screen already. So let me just show the slide it's working with today. So this is day 3, and the slide what we have for today is CSS layout and responsive design. And before we even go to this work, there's something I forgot to make mention of probably in the previous classes. Let me go to my HTML first. I want to show something. Because when people were submitting the assignment, I noticed that mistake, and I think I should correct it. So let me open my live server. So to open your live server, you can choose to right click and click on open with live server, and you can actually also click on this go live as well. So you can see click to run live server. Okay, and somebody raised a question that, though not on the group, it was my DM, that the class is focused on those that have laptops. So I think the person joined the class late and didn't see the video I sent on how to use SPCK editor to also code on your smartphone as well. So maybe the person did not see that video. So probably I will resend the video again. So as I said in the beginning, like in the first class, that everything you do on your laptop is still the same thing you do on your phone. In fact, the video I sent, that SPCK editor video, if you watch the video very, you see that it is similar to everything we are doing on our laptop. So there shouldn't be any problem with that at all. So probably if I resend the video and the person watches the video again, there should be no problem. Okay, so let me open my live server. So the first thing I'll be talking about is that when we're talking about the anchor element, remember this anchor element to link from one website to another, like to take you from a place to another. So I showed us to link to Facebook, for example. So we have two types of links. We have absolute links and negative links. So this kind of link is called an absolute link. So it's a link that to take you to a different website entirely, like a different server entirely. So you see those links starting with https www something. So those are absolute links. And I hope you are jotting down things, because these are things that we probably will need as we move on. So those are for absolute links. Let me resize my whole browser so you can be in this format. So I said absolute link. Then for relative links, for example, if you want to navigate to something inside your folder, like your project folder, so that is a relative link. So for example, you have I also forgot to mention, somebody submitted assignment. I think majority of you guys submitted the assignment and you put all your code inside the same HTML file. So I'm doing this basically because I'm putting everything in the same HTML file because we are learning. So I think I should use another approach. So you can create multiple HTML files under the same folder. It's very, very much possible. So for example, when I told you to do the login form, you should have created the login form HTML file itself, then put the login form separately. So how do we do that now? Let me just delete this, or I should just put this inside this place. So if I'm doing this, our image won't be showing up again. Yes, image is not showing because the location we gave to the image src is now is not found. Yes, it's not found because it's not in the same folder as the HTML file we are currently working on. So we need to come over and enter this folder, this images folder over here. So how do you make use of that? You just come over to this place. After this backslash, put our images folder and put our backslash, and yes, it works back. So let me just create another HTML file. I can even create a folder like, let's say, HTML, for example. Then I can move this. And I can move this into this place. So it means that we now have an HTML. Yeah, you'll be having an error definitely. So that is sorry, I'm trying to do something. Okay, yeah. So the reason why we are getting this error is because the HTML can't find this, because the URL we have here is what our localhost, then slash index.html. So it has forgotten that it is now in a new folder. So it means that if you want to open this in a new folder, you need to come over to this place. Don't worry if you are having this issue. So you can just come over and open live server again. You can stop the live server and open live server again. So basically, if I were to be the one, I'll just come over here and add that file structure. So the difference we now have here is that we have a slash HTML before the HTML file itself. So that's the kind of complex for now. And our image is now gone. Yes, because for the structure we have here is that it is going to go to the folder here. But what we now have is that the file needs to go to its parent. Now this is what I'm trying to say here. So we now have two folders. The HTML folder has HTML file inside. So if you want to access these images inside this folder, you need to come out of this folder, like this HTML folder first. Then you need to come inside this place. So how do we make use of that? So these are what we call the relative URL. So relative URL is when you are trying to pass or when you are trying to navigate through something inside your own folder. So now we make use of the dot dot. I said that if you want to use dot dot, if you have a folder and you want to leave that folder, so make use of the dot dot. So you can see it works fine. So dot dot means you are leaving that folder you are to the parent folder of that file you are currently inside. Then inside that current folder, which is a sibling to this images folder, so that's how we make use of images folder, and everything works fine. So now let me create a new HTML file. That's what I'm trying to go to. So let's say login.html, for example. So in this login.html file, this is actually a new HTML file that we are going to be working with. So I just want to quickly do that assignment solution for us. Now I showed that the shortcut to create our HTML file, which is shift and 1. So you have this kind of symbol. Then the next thing we need to do is that let me give this title of a login form. So let's say, or a login page, for example. Then in the body, I'll just have our form, as I said. So we'll start with the form element. And I said you can just remove this action attribute because we don't need this for now. So in the form, we'll be having a label. So I told you that label are used to give. Oh, did I mention that? But I think it's already in the file I dropped to the group, the HTML file. Or the HTML PDF about the elements in HTML. So let's say this label. So we are wondering why we are not seeing everything on this page. Yes, because we are currently in the HTML tutorial page, which is this HTML file. So it's like an HTML file for a page. That's how it works. So if you want to go to a new page, you need to make use of a new HTML file. You get the logic. So where was I? In the login.html file. So we have a label to. It's more like a normal text, but it is used with input element to give you suggestions, or sorry, to give you the main reason. How do I put this? Like what the input element is about. You got what I'm trying to say now. So the first label for, let's say, for your username, for example. So then you have an input element with a type equal to text, definitely, because we are trying to take the username. Then you have another label again. You have another label. So let me remove this for as well. So okay, I think I should even talk about the for, so you can get what it's used for. So you have another label for the password, and you have the input type equal to password as well. So you have the input. So you can just scroll down until you see password. Okay, so you can just, these are the options you have. Then you have input type equal to password. So these name attributes, you can just choose to remove them for now. I will tell us why we make use of them. So these are just what I have to do. Then we have a submit button. So you have a submit button that says login. So we are not seeing the result on this page because this page is showing for this HTML index.html. So if you want to choose for this one now, you make use of a different live server. You can do this. Yes, it works. But let's say, for example, you want to link, so you can see what we actually have here. So let me make use of line breaks. I told us about line breaks yesterday. If you want to have a new line, so that's why we make use of line break. And let me just put a new line break here as well. So you can see everything now goes on a new line. So you get. So now I also said something. So if you want to go from this page to this page, you can also make use of those. You can make use of the anchor tag as well. So in the HTML, in the initial page, we have index.html file. So let me have an anchor element that takes us to this login page. So let me just say we have something like A, for example. So now the href is going to be what? This HTML file is in this place. It is inside the same folder as the login.html. So how do you make use of that? So you just have a dot and a backslash because they are both in the same folder. So just click on the login.html and we have a text that says go to, let's say go to login page, for example. So go to login page. Okay, this is okay. Go to login page. So now if you go to the bottom of this text, we have something that says go to login page, and you click on this go to login page, it takes us to this login page. So that's how to link between one page and another page in HTML. So this kind of URL is called a relative URL because it is relative to your own parents, like your parents folder structure, your parents project. So it is different from when you have www something, which is going to the web, like the internet. So that's just for that. I just said I should just clear this because some people did not do that in their own projects. So you can just have a separate login page file for your projects. You get, so that's the assignment I gave yesterday. Then going to today's agenda. So let's not waste time at all. We have this CSS. So we have this CSS layout and responsive design we want to talk about. So sometimes I talked about one element yesterday, which is the div element. So div element is what we'll be making use of majorly in these box models. So box model is talking about like HTML and CSS designs. When you talk to probably having boxes, elements and their surrounding, their container, how to add border to it, how to add margin, padding, all those kind of things. So three major things we use in box models are margin, padding, and border. So these are the three things we talk about majorly in box models. So let me create a new file as well for that, so that we understand what I'm trying to say about having different files for different pages. So let's say we have boxmodel.html, and box models are CSS stuffs. I hope you are aware of that. So I'll also be having a CSS file as well. So probably I'm making use of the internal styling. So I taught us internal styling and inline styling yesterday. So you can actually just work on these two. So my shortcut is Shift I, and you click on enter. So this title is going to be box models. And I hope you still remember how we made use of CSS in an external file. So now I'll open this in my live server as well, so that we can actually work on this separately. So this is still an empty element or an empty page because you have nothing on the page. So now I'll be starting by creating a div. So the div is an element like the container, as I said yesterday, the container that we make use of to put other elements inside. You can put a paragraph, you can put an heading, you can put a box, you can put a button, a form, just anything inside a div. So it's like a container for many things. So now, for example, if you have this div and you want to like create a box out of this div, or you have like, let's say, a paragraph inside the div that says this is a container, for example. So you'll be getting the text displayed. But if you want to know, okay, what does this div now do? Okay, so I'll just show us that. And before I go into that now, there are some attributes to make use of in CSS that I think we should also learn now before we go to the next thing. So there are the ID and the class selectors. So now in CSS now, you want to select a particular element to make use of the tag name. So for example, in this head section, you can have our style element, as I said yesterday. So for the style now, if you want to style this paragraph, for example, you need to put the selector first, then your curly brace, then what do you want to change in the paragraph, which is the color. So you write the color, then you have a colon, and what do you want to change the color to? So let's say color red, for example, and your semicolon to end that declaration. So you can see we have this working now. So now let's say, for example, you want to give this div, as I said, it's more like a box. So you want to give this div what is it called? You want to give the div kind of like a background color. You can also give a paragraph a background color as well. So background color is background, then a hyphen and color. So for background color now, let's say we want to give background color of, let's say, gold, for example. So see what it looks like. A background color that spans across the whole element. So now, but I don't want us to use this. I want us to give the background color to the parent, which is the div. So as I said, div is more like a box. So it acts like a box as well. So to start the div now, we make use of this div and our curly brace as well, because div is the tag name. So we make use of the tag name as selectors. So selectors are beyond tag names. So for example, if you have 100 paragraph, let me even show what I'm trying to say. So let me create another paragraph inside this place and says this is a paragraph, for example. So let's say this is a paragraph, not a container. So this is a paragraph, and this is another paragraph. So let me change this to this another paragraph. So you can see these two paragraphs are having colored because when we make use of the tag name to give stylings to any of our elements, it is going to look for all the tags that have that particular name. So it means that every occurrence of paragraph on this page is going to have this color. So So that's just the meaning of selectors. So let's say for example you just want to give only this one a color of red and maybe give this one a color of green. So how do you make use of that? Then that's where we make use of the ID and the class selectors. So ID is like an attribute that is given to individual elements, meaning that each element has its own unique ID. So how do you make use of that? We come to this paragraph. It's an attribute, so basically it comes inside the opening tag. So we have our ID equals to, so let's say this one is what, let's say first for example. So the ID name can be just any text itself, any text. So we make use of first, and for the second one we make use of we make use of ID. This is a mistake. So let's say an ID of second for example. So if you want to now style this ID or style this element based on its ID, then you make use of this. You come to your CSS, and what you make use of is that there's something we make use of. If you want to style ID, make use of the hashtag. So you start with the hashtag, then the ID name. So the ID name is what is first, then you give it the curly brace. So this hashtag first is also a selector in CSS to style or to select elements based on their IDs. So now this element here is a paragraph that has the ID of first. It means anything we give to this is going to affect only this. So let me just comment out this now. So everything is gone, and I can now give this first one a color of red. So it means that we'll be having color red for only the first one that has the ID of first. So if you want to start the second as well, you make it of the same syntax by saying hashtag second and give the curly brace. So let's say a color of green for example. So we have second the color of green. So it means that if you want to style elements differently, like uniquely, so make use of their ID. So now we also have the class selector as well. So class is that if you want to group several elements will have the same stylings. So now I'll just be doing this. I think I'll just copy this. Sorry. So let me just copy this whole thing. Control C. Yes. Okay. So let me just paste it. So you can see we now have elements with the same ID, but this is not ideal. So ID is is unique. So you shouldn't give the same element, like different element the same ID. So I'm making use of class in this place. So we have class equal to let's say same for example. So you can make use of just any text, and this one should have a class name of same. So we have the class as well. So the class and the ID, they are selectors. So now if you give any styling to the class name of same, it's going to affect every element having the class name of same. So now I can just come over here and come to this place and say sorry. So if you come to this place, let me just remove this for now. So if you come after the ID and say now if you want to style your class, if you want to style elements using their class, you make use of the dot, not the hashtag. So the hashtag is for the IDs, so hashtag the ID name. But for classes, you make use of the dot. So that is dot, then the class name. So the class name for what we want to style now is what is sim. So we have dot sim and a curly brace. So in the curly brace, what we want to change the colors to. So we have the color. What is this? So we have a color of what? So let's say color of, let's say navy. So navy is also a color. So you can see these two elements are having navy color because we've styled them by giving them the same class name. So I'm just trying to touch this as well. So I don't want to forget about this. So I just want to touch it as soon as possible. So that's just for ID and class name. As a quick recap, ID is for individual elements, while class is for grouping several elements to have the same stylings. So that's just for that. So now the reason why I even have to touch is because when we get into div, you need to make use of ID and class names as well for the box models. So now I'll be giving this div an ID of box. For example, let's say an ID of box. So it means that if you want to start this div, make use of the ID selector, not the div, because you can have 100 divs on a page, but they have different stylings. So that's why you make use of the ID or even the class names. So if you want to start this box, for example, now I just come over and say hashtag box because I gave it an ID value of box. Then we have our curly brace. So now, sorry, please, who has his mic open? Please help us mute your mic. Thank you very much. So the things that you can make use of in box models. So as I said earlier, we have margin, padding, and border as the three major things to make use of in box models. So in fact, in even almost any element, you can make use of these three things. Yes, these three things. Either buttons, your paragraph text, your tables, just anything. So you can make use of, the box model properties in CSS. So now I'll start with the width, for example. So you can give your div a width of, let's say, 50%. So I said we have percentage as well for the units in CSS. So you can also give it an height give it an height of, let's say, 400 view height. So VH is also a unit. So view height in the sense that 400. Oh, what is this is not possible. So VH is like the for our entire screen height. So it's going to take like 40 over 100 of the screen height. Aha, so that's what we mean by that. So this is not possible. We can't have 400. So we can have 40, yes. But 400 is too much. It is not even possible. It's like having 400% over 100. So that's not possible. So percentage is like it is going to take 50% of its parent elements. All these things are things that are already in the. Oh, I think I don't include that, but maybe I will try to send something on that as well, so you can also study it to understand it. So you can see everything we are doing here. We are not seeing any difference on this page because the div is a kind of like is a special element that if you don't have something you can use to distinguish it, you won't really know.
I 50%.
Please help us unmute your mic, please. So now let's give the div a background color, for example, so you can see everything better. A background color of what color can go on all this? So let's say background color of wine, for example. But is wine a color? Yeah, it's not going. So wine is not a valid color. So let's say aqua, for example. So background color of aqua. So you can see now it has the background color and you can see what it looks like. Yes. So now this is just for the first thing we'll be working on. This is the width I set. You can give it a width of 10%. It looks smaller. Let's say 100%, which is a little bit bigger, so you can see. So for the height as well, 40 VH. You can change this to, let's say, 10 VH. It becomes smaller as well. So let me put at 50 to take half of the whole screen size. So that's what I'm trying to say by VH. So we also have VW for view width. So that is like the 50% of the screen width itself. So that's just for that as well. And also, apart from the background color, we have other things you can apply to these box models. So I said three major things: padding, margin, and border. So padding is the space between the border of an element, like the edge of an element, and the content inside it. So please jot these things down. So padding is the space between an element and an element's border or an element's edge and the text inside. So now let me show you what I'm trying to say by that. So if you add a padding, all these things too, they have units like px, vh, view width, and the like. So they are the common units in CSS. So let's say we give the padding of 20 px, for example. Notice this text. Look at the text I've shifted inside. So that is because it has pushed the content inside the whole element itself. So it's like the gap between. I don't know if I can try to use marker in this thing, but it's not going to work. So like the gap between the edge of the element. Look at where my mouse is. Let me try to make this bigger. So the gap between this whole edge of our container and the element inside it is what we call the padding. So it means that if you want to give it a bigger space, we increase the padding to, let's say, 50 pixels. It means the elements will go more and more inside. So that's what makes use of the padding. So let's leave it at 50 pixels. So we also have margin as well. So margin is the space between an element and the space between an element's border and the outer container or the outer element. So you saw what I'm trying to say right now. So we have a margin of, let's say, a margin of 10 pixels. It means that it's going to push. Look at this. Aha, exactly. So you can see the gap between an element's edge and the outer elements, like other elements around it. So that's what we call the margin. So don't worry about these things. We'll get to know them better when we do some basic examples on them. So the third one is what we call the border. So border, so the border is like, we all know what border is. So border is like the surrounding design that's lying around an element. So if you give it a border of, let's say, so now border has the kind of like other elements that are attached to it. So we have a border name, the border size, the border width, and the border color. So these three things can be joined together to form just one thing. So what I'm trying to say, you can have a border name, what do I mean by name? Border size, So border size of 1 pixels, for example, it won't show because you don't have a border style. So border style is what we mean by, is it a straight line, is it dotted line, is it groove, is it doubled, and like. So the border style is the kind of design we have for the border. So now let me see if this will actually give a suggestion. So you can see we have dash, dotted, double, groove, hidden, blah blah blah. So see what we mean by dashed, for example. So you can see what border style of dashed looks like. So you can see we have this thing, border size. Border width, not border size actually. So it's border width. So this just to set the width for the border. See how small it is. So let's increase this to, let's say, 3 pixels for example. It becomes bigger. So it's like a dash border. You can change this to solid. So solid is just a plain line. So just a plain line across. You can change it to groove as well. So see what groove looks like, kind of like a double something, but it has one light and one dark. You can also change it to, let's say, dotted. What is this? Dotted as well. So a lot of border types that we have. So let's just go with the solid. It seems more mature. Oh, sorry. So solid. Yeah. So now you can see we have two things we've used here: the border width and the border style as well. So you can also have the border color. So let's say you want to give it a color of, let's say, see the border color. So you can see many other things we have: border color, border width, border left, and line. So let's go with the border color. So border color of, so let's say, color brown for example. So you can see the color has changed to brown. So now these are just some of the things we make use of for the border. We can make everything as one to appear once, so without having to use repetitions like this. So that is the shortcut of border. So just put your border like this, and what now combine these three things together. So you have the three pixels, solid and brown. So just put everything together at once. It works like that. So 3 pixels, solid brown. So it means that we are having this border that has a size or a width of 3 pixels, a color of a style of solid, and a color of brown. So if I choose to remove all this by commenting it out, so what do I mean by comment? Comment means when you have a code on your website or on your page or your website, your HTML file or CSS or any other program language, but these codes are not working, like kind of like deactivating the code. You can see that the color even appears differently. So if you want to have a code, probably you are trying to test run some things and you want to see if it will work or not, so you can comment out a fraction of your code. So this is what makes it of comment. So if you want to comment out the code, it's very simple. You just need to highlight what you want to probably comment out, and click on Control and slash, so it comment out the code. So if you're making of your Android phone or your coder, so you can literally type out this comment of the thing, type the slash, type your asterisk. You can see it comment out everything coming after it. So this is a problem for us because we don't want this to happen. So you come after this place and add an asterisk and a slash as well, so everything becomes safe. So we've commented out this. So but for a shortcut is that Control and slash. So for your Android phone also, you can just write this down, but this is for CSS. So if you want to comment out in HTML, how do you make it of that? So you also do the same thing, Control and slash, but see that the syntax is different. You have this HTML structure, this less than, but you have an exclamation mark and 2 dash. Yes, so take note of this as well. But I don't want us to go to that for now. So now I've commented out this code, meaning that this code is the same as, like, it's not different from not there at all. So even if you delete this code, you see the same thing that happens. So let me just leave it like that. So now I just showed us the border shortcut. So the same thing for the margin and padding. So we have margin top, margin top, left, right, and bottom. Same thing for the padding top, left, right, and bottom as well. So you can just choose to have something like let's say a margin top, so we have margin top, we have margin bottom as well. So for margin top now, you can give it a value of, let's say, value of 10 pixels for example. So you can also have margin bottom separate, margin with separate, margin is separate. But if you have just one value like this, instead of having individual values, so if you have just one value, it means you are giving it a value of 10 pixels for the 4 different sides. Yeah, so who is that? Please, do you have a question? Okay, so please help us unmute your mic. Thank you. So when you have a margin for everything, it means that you are trying to give every side a margin of 10 pixels. So I'll be sending another PDF soon to the group. So those are like the style sheets or the cheat sheets for sizes in CSS too. So we've talked about margin and padding and border. So now you can have any element and have this as well. So let's say for example, we want to have a button on this page. So let me just come over and create a button element as an example. So in the button now, let's say we have this is a button, for example. So we're having this text. So you can also add a padding to this button. Maybe you want to make it appear bigger and the likes. So I just come over and select the button. Since I have not added any ID or class to it, I can just select it like this. So we have a button and we can give it a padding, let's say a padding of 10 pixels for example. So it will give it more spacing inside the button itself. You get what I'm trying to say? So you can see it has increased the spacing inside the button itself. So if you want to add margin to this now, it's going to increase the size outside the button itself. So let's say for example we have a margin of 10 pixels. It's going to push the button. You can see it has pushed it to this side. So it pushed it 10 pixels up, 10 pixels to the left, 10 pixels to the right, and 10 pixels to the bottom as well. So that was make it of when we make it of it a single value for these things. So as I say, you can make it of margin top separate, margin bottom separate, margin left separate. So this actually also work. But basically you are just making it of one value for everything. And that's just everything for these box models. You can make it of box models for just anything. Either your box, your div box, your tables, your ul, li, just anything that can have this kind of thing. So now let me show you something as well, like a what kind of like a miscellaneous something. So if you come to your browser, like I mean your HTML, your Chrome browser or any other browser you make use of, but this is actually only for those using what is it called, laptops. Yes, I don't know if it works for Android phones and likes. So just come over and click on Ctrl Shift and C at the same time. So you are going to have what we call developer options opened up. You can also open it up by right clicking on this page and click on view page source. So click on inspect. Yes, click on inspect. So if you click on inspect, it's going to open up this panel where you have this. So this is all the code you have for this particular page. Look at the codes you have for this page. If you do the same thing for login page as well, Ctrl Shift and C, or right click and click on inspect page. So you'll be having this same thing. So under the element section, you have this whole thing. So you have this form. Look at these 3 dots we see here. I don't know if it's very much big there, but I can increase the size so you can see it better. So look at it now. Yeah, so I think it's clear. So look at these parts. Let me reduce this. So you can see this element section. We have this head. So you can see the HTML. We have the doc type. We have the HTML. We have the head as well. So in the head we have all these things. You have the title. So it's more like you are trying to access all your code from this place. So if you go to any website, you can access all their codes from this particular place, but only the front end codes. Though not even all the front end, but at least some of the front end codes. Mostly the HTML and CSS codes and JavaScript. So and you can see the form element inside the body as well. Look at the form. Click on these 3 dots. It's going to expand it, and you can see we have the label. And as you're hovering over this element, you can see that we are seeing the reflection on this page as well. So just for you to know that this is one you are currently hovering on. So you can see the button. So for the script now, click on this. So you can see all these things now. You don't know where it came from. Yes. So these are like the default things that come with every element. So every element has their own default script coming with them. So these are just for advanced concept. Let's not even go into this. So you also have console, you have sources. All these things are for later, by the way. So now I can just resize this. I came here for a reason. Yeah, I just remembered. So coming back to our box model now. So you can see if you come to this, where is it? This styles, yeah, computed style. So come to this computed. Under this section, come to the computed. I can make this bigger. So look at this element, for example. You can click here to select an element. So to over. So just click on this border. This is the border. This is the div we are working on. This div of the thing. So you can see now the styling you have for the div. For the margin, it has a margin of 10 pixels. If you still remember what we gave to it, we gave it a margin of 10 pixels, which is the div with the hashtag of box, margin of 10 pixels. Look at here as well, 10 pixels on the left, 10 on the top, 10 on the right, and 10 on the bottom. And it has a border of 2.727. I think this value should be in inches also. So, but these are the values in pixels. Then we have a padding as well, padding of 50 pixels. You can see the same thing we did here, padding of 50 pixels. So this is like the box model. You can see everything we have. So these are the values or the style of the text inside. So just to show us this as well. Alright, so I think we are done with that for now. Let me see the next thing we should go into. So we've talked about box models. Then for the flex box, this kind of like something that will take our time. I don't know how many minutes we have left. Let me see how many minutes we've gone. So we've gone about 29 minutes. Wow. So we still have kind of a lot of time to go. So I'll just touch the flex box, like the surface of the flex box. Then we'll go to the middle place. Then for the units, so we have pixels, we have percentage, we have EM, REM. So these are things that you can just practice out and see how they work. So I'll be skipping these units. So we have just flexbox and the media queries left to touch. So now for the flexbox, now let me just go back to our code. Okay, so now for the flexbox, let's say for example you want to arrange things. Look at what we have in our login form. For example, look at how things are disorganized. They are not looking organized and they are just random. So let's say for example you have two div boxes. Now I will probably be clearing, I think I should just clear this div. I can just comment everything out. We're having this because probably we okay, so why is this a problem? This, yeah, so you probably have comment in comments, you might have that problem, so just remove one of those comments and everything will work fine. So now the styling is gone. So basically I want us to, let me just Ctrl Z. We can create more divs basically. So let me create a new div after this div. So I'll be having a new div with a class name of, let's say a class name of let's say my box, for example. Okay, so this definitely, class equal to, then remember this is an attribute. So what is this? I think this is actually, where is this coming from? So let me reload the page and see again. So everything is gone. Alright, so you can see that the div is not showing even though we've created the div. That's because divs are always empty by default. So you need to probably add something inside it, then add your styling, probably a background color. And if you come over and copy this class name, for example, Ctrl C and paste here, dot Ctrl V, and probably give it a background color of red, for example. So you won't even say anything even after giving the background color because it does not have a size yet. So you need to give it a width and the height. So let's give it a width of, let's say 50% of the parent. So probably it would need to add a height as well. So a height of, let's say should we say 50% as well, 50% dot my box. Are you sure we are doing this correctly? Dot my box, is it a class or an ID? So it's a class, so no problem. So now let's try to add something inside. Let's say we add the paragraph that says let's say div text, for example. So you can see we now have something. This looks very small. Class equal to my box. I'm trying to see if there's a problem somewhere, because normally it should be bigger than this. Dot my box, yes, color of red, width 50%. I just probably add the height of, let's say 50 or 500 pixels or so to make it bigger. So yes, so now even the width is even kind of small. Let's give it a width of, let's say 500 pixels as well, or it's too big, let's make it 100 and make this 100 as well. So these are things of your choice. You can just give it a size. And why is this very okay? Yeah, okay. So now let me just remove the text inside. So now probably if you want to have several elements and you want to group them together, you might have seen some websites and you see the way they are structured and the way they are doing their things. So that's what I want to show us now. If probably we have another div like this, Ctrl V, so you see that these divs are now like this. Probably if you want to arrange them vertically, horizontally, and many other things as well, like you want to arrange them to look orderly, so we make it of the flex box. So these are also things we learn in box models too. Apart from flex box, we have grid as well. So these are things that we make use of to arrange our data or our elements in an ordered manner. So how do you make use of flex box? How it works is that you need to have a parent container or a parent element and you have several elements inside. So for example, I can group all these divs inside another div. This is what I mean. So I need to just copy all this. I can just cut and paste here. So we have the div and a class name of parent. Then let me just change this to, let's say, child, for example. So we have a class name of child, for example. So now let me just save. Then I need to come over here and change this to child, no longer parent, child. Okay, so everything now works fine as usual. So as I said, probably if you want to arrange this thing in an ordered manner, for example, the same way as we have our login page that is looking ugly, so if you want to arrange them orderly, so make use of flexbox. So how do we make use of that? First of all, we need to put some stylings inside the parent element. So we have a dot parent. So in the dot parent now, for the CSS flex box, we have some properties that we make use of. First of all, make use of the display flex. So this is going to set the element to have a display of flex. So this is just the first step. So now after doing this, let me come back to this place. So you can see that after giving the display of flex, they join together, meaning that it is ready to accept the remaining properties. Then we have other stylings or other properties we make use of. One of them is the align content and justify content, align items. So for the justify content, it is used to set the alignment of the elements. So we can have values like center, end, flex start. So let me say we give it a value of center. Then you can also have something like an align items as well. It also have some values as well. So let me give it a value of center. It means everything is going to be in the center of the parent element. So you can see what it looks like. It is in the center. I think the reason is because we have this main big thing. So let me reduce the size of this one. So let me give it a width of, let's say, 70%. So you can have a reduced size. So you can see that we have this div container. This whole thing is actually from the parent. Let me give it a background color so you can see what I'm trying to say. So for the parent now, to have a background color, let's background color of let's say black, for example. So you can see what I'm trying to say. So you can see now this parent itself has a width of what? A width of 100%, but the child inside is now in the center, both vertically and horizontally. That's because of the justify content. This one works for the horizontal, this one works for the vertical. So now apart from this, now if you want to start the child itself, so if you want it to be in a row format, so make use of the flex direction property. So this can take values, so this can take values of rows and column. So flex direction can take column, can take row, column reverse and row reverse. So this now by default it is row. So this is row by default. So if you want it to be in a straight form, like a vertical form, you make it of what? Make it of column. So they will be one another on top of one another. So this is how it looks like. So now this is just for one of them. And another thing we make it of is the gap. You want to give space between the children in a flex. So make it of the gap property as well. So let's say a gap of 20 pixels between each of the children. So you can see we have a gap between them right now. So we have several other things to make use of basically in this. So let me give the parent a padding of, let's say, 20 pixels as well, to give it more space inside. So you can see everything is making more sense. So now we can have several other elements inside this flex. Let me try to duplicate this. Ctrl C and Ctrl V and Ctrl V again. So you can see we now have 4 of them, and they are all aligned in this format. You can see because we have the parent, which is the flex parent, having a flex direction of column. So if you want them to be aligned in an horizontal form, so just make it of row. So that's how it actually looks like. You can see everything looks beautiful now. So that's just for the CSS flex. So the other things you can also learn in flex as well. Probably I will try to send another PDF on that, so you can also study that as well. And you also need to practice. Then I will need to come back to this our login form. So you need to make use of this as well to align this to look beautiful. So I'll come to the login.html, and you can see now you can even group everything here into something like a parent. So let me say a div that has a class name of, let's say, child, for example. So in this div now I'll be putting each of the label and inputs inside. So I'll just copy this or cut this and put here. Then we have the same syntax. In fact, you can even choose to remove the br, because we make use of the gap property to add spacing to them. So I can have another div. So if you want to have a shortcut to create a div that has an id value or a class name, so when you are writing the div, you can put a dot. So a div dot something. So if you have div dot child, it is going to create a div with a class name of child. So if you click on enter, you can see div class equal to child. So if you want to do the same thing for id, you just need to do probably your p dot for id value, make use of hashtag. So p hashtag, let's say child, for example. So this one is going to create a paragraph, which is the p, with an id value of child. So you can see over here, click on enter, you have the paragraph with an id of child. So just another shortcut we can also make use of. So now for this now, so I'll just copy or I'll just cut everything we have here inside this place. So you can see. So we now have parents for everything, and for this BR, we can remove this as well. Then we can have another div for the button, or you can just leave the button alone since it is the only one there. So now for the form, now we can give the form and so in the style, now you can have the form. So we give the parent of all these stuff is what is the form. The form is the parent of all these divs. So you can give the form a display of flex, a display of flex. So now you can see that everything now goes to total form, because by default when you give display of flex, the flex direction is automatically given as row, not column. So that's why we have that instead. So now you also have other things. We add the align items. So we give it a value of center. So it means that it's going to put it in the center of the entire stuff. So you can see what we have here now. Look at this login. So it is now aligned between this paragraph and this box, so that the center of these two. So that's just for that. Then for the justify content, so the justify content, so let's also give the value of center as well. Center. So it's going to put everything in the center of the entire screen. So even if you increase the width, it's still going to be in the center, no matter how it is. So make use of this in many aspects. So you even get to know when we get to some other aspects of this thing, so you get them better. So now you can also give it a flex direction of column, because we want them to be on a straight line in vertical form. So we have a flex direction of column, not row this time around. So you can see it is now in this format. It is in the center like this because we have it as align items of center. If you comment this out, so I'm going to have it in not in the center anymore. So we want it to be in the center basically. And the justify content is just to make them at the center also. So what else should we add again? Let's give it a background color. You see, I'm trying to make this more beautiful. So I'm trying to make this more beautiful so that we can actually understand what we mean by CSS. CSS is used to add stylings and used to make our code like more beautiful. It's not about having black and white on your page. You should have several other colors too to make it appear kind of beautiful. So for the background color now, you can add something like let's say background color of red. So you can see. Then you can now have padding as well. So let's have a padding of, let's say 20 pixels for example. So you can actually also have width as well. So let's give this a width also, a width of let's say 50%. So take 50% of the entire screen size. Then you can actually also give it a height, or you can just leave height for now. You can leave height for now. So that's just for that aspect. So now you know the div actually have children inside. So which are the divs? I mean the form has children. Which are the divs? So the div we have now, we have three divs: the child and the two childs and the button. So now I can even add a gap to it as well. So let me add a gap as well. So gap of 30 pixels to give spacing between each of them. So you can see the gap. So now each of these things also have their own parent too, which is the child. So I can actually also come over and style the dot child. So dot because make it of the class name and make it of the dot to style that. So you can also have this as a display of flex also, because every parent can have display of flex for its own children too. So display of flex. This also is going to have them in this format. You see, it is display of row, like everything we have row by default. So you can have align items. You can leave this in this format actually, but let's just give it align item of center. So to be in the center, we can leave the justify content. So we can have center as well. But justify content is going to work in this format, and we can actually also leave it also. So we have the flex direction too, which you can give it a value of a column. So we want it to be in column format like this, but I think it's better if it is actually in the row format. So this is actually better. It's better in this way. So we just need to add gap, so we can have a gap between them. So let's say we have a gap of 20 pixels. So it's going to increase the gap between them. And I think this is too small. So now we need to increase the width of the form itself. So the form should have, let's say 70%. Yeah, so you can see. So you see that our form now looks different because we make use of the box models flex in CSS. So we also have other things to make use of, like the grid. But I prefer using flex. Yes, flex is better because it's easier to learn and easier to implement. Sometimes grid might give some problems, which we even try to run away from. Even without we use web design tools too, we try to run away from grid. So flex is better in terms of that. So these are just the basics of using display flex. So if you want to give a styling to a parent to arrange its children in an ordered manner, like what we have over here, so make use of the display of flex. And does not come alone, it comes with align items of center to align it or to position it in a vertical format. justify content to position it in like a horizontal format. We have the flex direction of column. It can take row. It can take row reverse. So let me show you the column reverse as well. So for the column reverse, it's going to reverse the order. So you can see what we mean by that. So you can see the login is the top, password, and that. So that's the row reverse, column reverse. So you can also have row reverse as well. You can implement that to it should be column, not column minus. Then background color, we know this already. Then the padding as well, we've taught this already. We have the width and the gap. So the gap is to add the spacing between the children of this parent, basically. So now since even we have another parent for this element, which is the div with class name of child, so that's why we actually came over to have display flex for this child again. So let's say for example you have what is it called? You can have like navigation menus, for example, and the navigation menu is going to have like links inside a container. So we make it of display flex so that even if someone keeps increasing the size of the screen, it is still going to maintain that size. You would have seen navigation menu of website. Let me say for example on our own academy, I want to show us something. So that's how we make it of display flex. It's very, very important and it's something we always want to use. Okay, so I'm coming. Let the page load. So I want to show us what I mean by that display flex. So every time you increase the screen size, so look at how this thing is working. So I'm taking off this navigation menu over here. So look at how it is changing. So even though you are increasing the size of the screen, everything is still looking for the space to put itself. So it's not as if you will change the size and everything will just scatter. No, that's not how it actually works. So but when you now get to a particular width, you have this. So probably tomorrow, let me see the schedule. We are even supposed to take that today, the media queries, but I think we won't have time to do that today because yeah, we have just 8 minutes left for our call. So probably we'll be taking that tomorrow, which is the media query, so that we'll be able to learn if our screen size is not as big as this. So you see that when we have a big screen size, we have the logo image and we have these icons or its navigation menus. But when we have a smaller screen size, we have this instead. So these are the things that we learn in media queries, that when the screen size is smaller than this or bigger than this, then we should have a different styling. So that's just for media queries. So I think we'll be stopping here today. Yeah, we've touched a lot of things today. So we talked about the CSS box models. We talked about the flex box too. We talked about the unit as well. So now the assignment to be having to do is that, look at this, we have a responsive 2-column portfolio layout, whereby you are actually expected to create like a portfolio. Probably I will send a sample to you guys. So what you need to do is that a 2-column, in the sense that you are going to have 2 columns. So 2 columns now, how you make it of that? As I showed you here, you can have so you can have two children in your parent container. So that's one by 2 columns. So in each of those parents or each of those children, you can have like probably some things inside this space and some things inside this space. So probably in the first column you can have something like your education. In the new column you have like your achievement or your experience. So just 2 columns. So making use of the display flex. And what else should be there? Yeah, it should be a portfolio just about yourself. You can put a column in a div for a column, div for the second column. Then for the first column you are going to have something like you should be having a div that has probably heading of about me. You have like probably an H1 or H2. Then you have an image of yourself. You have a few paragraphs about yourself as well. Then for the second column you are going to have something like probably your experience or your education. So you have your text as well. You can also make use of the UL and OL as well, which are the list. Probably if you've studied in many places, you can just put a UL, number 1, I learned in social place, number 2, social place. So that's just the assignments we have for today. So I think we'll be stopping here now, and because I think even our meeting now just few minutes left. Yeah, you see we have just 6 minutes left. So if you have any question from today's class, please just go over to the submission group. So I'll be answering the questions from the submission group, and also our assignment as well. I'm still trying to emphasize on it again. Please let's try to submit our assignment. Some people already did that today. Some people submitted it as well. So please let's try to make it as early as possible, so that I can always easily and quickly review the assignment and give corrections when necessary. So thank you very much for your cooperation. So we'll see you in tomorrow's class.